Hi everybody, welcome to MacMind.io. My name is Johnny Mac. I'm a software professional and host of this channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just going to share briefly about an issue that I discovered while I was debugging a project that I posted about a month or so ago. And this was that Bluetooth low energy service that I showed you how to set up and configure. And the issue is that when we set the time, it works, but then the interface breaks down. And so you can't set the time again, and it's difficult to then get a hold of the device again. It gets into a funky state, and I was confused by that. That shouldn't be the case, right? Things should be stable. When we're building software, we want to make sure that things are stable, and it's a bit of a red flag when they're not, right? So that was what was throwing me off, and I wanted to make sure to get to the bottom of it. So this is the project that we're talking about. This is that RPI-BLE server. Again, we were talking about writing this in Rust and using Rust to create the Bluetooth service on the device instead of Python, so we don't have to install any libraries on the device. We just compile this binary on our host machine, right, using rpi-image-gen then to copy that file into the image and send it over to the Pi. So we're good to go. We got that binary on there. So the issue that I discovered really was down here in when we set up this characteristic. And this is the line here that proved to be problematic, okay? So write without response false line, it's a double negative in there, but essentially what I thought this was gonna do is ensure that a response went back to the calling device, okay? Because that's how I was thinking about this in the client-server model, especially that I've been more familiar with, which is the HTTP client-server model. It's request response, right? And you're expecting a response. However, that's not really how this model works. It's more of an async model. And so really the way that we want to implement this is we don't want to expect a response on the client side, okay? And so the way we broadcast this characteristic to the client is going to be as, hey, I'm broadcasting that I can receive a write on this characteristic. However, I'm not going to send you a response, okay? And so let's get through what that looks like. It's really quick, but really crucial if we want this to be set up correctly. And really this is just going to be as simple as setting this value now to true. So if we hop over to our code, we can do that, right? So this is this app, and we come in here to our main RS. We're going to just set this to true. Now when we do this, we need to consider this on the client side, and I really didn't show you guys the client side code. I will add it to this project. I do have an iOS and an Android. I may hold on publishing the Android with this latest update because I haven't tested it quite yet, but I did test the iOS and we'll see that right now. What that looks like in Xcode is going to be something like this, right? So we have our project and set RPI time. And if we look at, it's very simple, right? We have our content view. We're just going to look and see if we're connected to a device, then show this interface, right? We're going to press a button, and that's going to send the current time. And if not, we're just going to show a scanning interface and list out what devices are detected, okay? And then this is our Bluetooth service. What we're looking for is this characteristic and this service UUID, and these are going to match, if you remember, what we set here on the RPI side, okay? These identifiers are going to match. And this characteristic is actually specific to setting the current time. It's appropriated for that. I think it's possible to send other data over this characteristic, but that's what its intention is. So it's limited in how much data you can send. So, okay, now we have the client side code. And again, when we look at this, what we're going to be looking for is the device, right? We're going to scan for devices, and we're going to go ahead and connect to the device, right? And then what is the addition that we made here? So when we actually send the time and time zone, okay, this is the significant change. So in the prior version, the app that I had, this was with response, okay? Which is an option. I need to dig in further again how that works, but the standard way to communicate and send data through this characteristic interface when we're running a GATT server on the server side is without a response, okay? And so that's going to keep both sides of this transaction happy so that everything flows smoothly. So let's go ahead and compile this app and then install the code on the Pi and show this in action. Okay, so one more thing that we need to make sure we take care of is there is a package in layer that we're installing that we want to remove. And so if we look at our profile, we do have this systemd netmin, right? So these are some apps that are in this layer. It's a convenience layer, and it includes systemd and a time sync. And that time sync is actually interfering with what we're trying to do because we want a system that has no internet and no Ethernet or Wi-Fi and no time syncing, right? And so we're just going to set the time over Bluetooth. So we actually want to remove this, okay? And if we look at the project, we can see here that this is the layer that is complicating things, and it has this system time sync, okay? But if we remove this, then we remove systemd, okay? So we want to make sure that we add that back. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we'll remove this layer here from our profile, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and add systemd and this systemd sysv, all right, to our customizations layer. That way they get installed, okay? And it's compiling that Rust code. So we can see here, right? So we created and copied this binary into our image. Okay, great. Now rpi-image-gen is running. Okay, and so it's asking us for a password. Okay, this is an older project. It's only a month. A lot has changed since then. So the reason this is happening, and you may recall this if you follow along from earlier videos, is because we're using the post build script for a lot of the creation of systemd services here, right? And so we needed to use sudo for that. But since then, we've changed a little bit how we're doing that, and we're using these bdebstrap hooks. So I'm going to go ahead and update this project and move these scripts into these customized hooks. And that way we don't need sudo anymore, and then we're not going to need to be prompted for this password. Okay, so let's pop it in and see what happens. Cool, and this is a little Pi 4 that I've got here. I'm going to use that one to test this. Starting to get more hardware. It's going to turn into my father's basement here pretty soon. But that's cool. Okay, so we should see our device booting up here. There's our rainbow screen. And now it's booting up. Excellent. And it's booted. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just show that the date is wrong, right? This is the problem. It says Thursday, March 6th, and it is not Thursday, March 6th. It is May 2nd. But we don't have any internet connection, right? We're completely unplugged with this device, and we want to set the time. So let's go ahead. What we'll do is we'll just launch the app from Xcode. So let's head back over there. And this is pretty cool. So we can just launch the app right here, and it's going to go ahead and just launch it on my phone. So the reason for that has to do with, there is a simulator, and some of us are familiar with that simulator, but you can't really use Bluetooth peripherals through the simulator, and they don't recommend it, especially because you're not going to be really testing how it's going to work on the device. So they just install it on the device, and this actually makes it a lot easier because you can see the device. Okay, so we're just going to allow Bluetooth for this app. Now it's scanning for devices. Okay, great. It did discover my device. Okay, cool. I'm going to say I want to connect to this device by clicking here, and now I'm going to get this interface. So this is what we were showing in Xcode that we built. Hopefully you can all see that. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and set the time now, and we're going to set the time and the time zone to America, Los Angeles. That's my time zone here in Orange County. And let's go ahead and set that time. Okay, cool. So what we should see now if we come back over to the device, is that the time should now be set. And indeed it is, May the 2nd, and we can see it's Pacific time, okay? But this is just what we did before. The problem that I discovered was that, let's say now I want to go ahead and set the time zone to New York, okay? And when I did that, it didn't work. And that bothered me. It should work. And so that's what got me digging in to discover that we shouldn't be expecting a response, and that was what was causing this problem. So now when we come back again here, we can see that we have now set the time zone to Eastern. And now we can just continue if I want. I have a few options here. I can set it to London. That will set it to London, okay? And so now I can just keep interacting with it. It's stable, and that's what we wanted. So, whew! Sigh of relief, we have now a stable service. We also learned quite a bit here about these interfaces, and that's a good thing too. So that's it for this video. If you like what you saw, please tap that thumbs up icon, and please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm gonna be making more videos like this on how to use rpi-image-gen to configure your Raspberry Pi to get the most out of the hardware so you can really optimize your builds. I'm having a lot of fun learning how to use this and teaching about it. It's a great opportunity to use this device to do all sorts of really awesome stuff and create cool devices and applications. If you have questions, remember, please ask here in the YouTube comments. Please ask in the GitHub repos. And also you can find me on my Discord server. I hope you're having a great day. And remember, never stop experimenting, challenging assumptions, and seeking the objective truth. I'm Johnny Mac. This is MacMind.io.